Welcome back to It's a Veteran's Life. I'm your host, Michael Turbyfield, and today I'll be talking with Tia about her journey of self-discovery and healing. Key topics will include Tia's use of a bear costume at drift events and car shows, as well as parades, to express herself and overcome bullying and societal judgments. She also shares her military background, struggles with mental health, and the ineffective treatments she received from the VA. A pivotal moment in her healing journey involved a session with Organization 220, which significantly alleviated her PTSD symptoms. The discussion further explores Tia's passion for motorsports and her efforts to engage veterans in car-related activities as a therapeutic outlet.
That goes to any length. We find ourselves in unity in the bonds we create.
All right, Tia, it's good to finally link up with you.
Glad to finally be on here, that's for sure.
Right. So, I was looking at some of your TikToks last night, and before we get too involved in this thing, one thing kind of struck me with the bear suit that you wear when you go to some of these car shows. I like what you said about wearing a mask and then putting that on and be able to be yourself. I think a lot of us do that.
Yeah, I've recently talked with my husband a lot about this, that I've been masking since I was a young child just because I got bullied a lot. And coming into my 40s, I just decided that I'm kind of tired of pretending to be somebody else. And so I thought of like, okay, how can I start to kind of like let my goofy show? And I told him, I was like, I want this costume. And he was like, are you kidding me? Because it wasn't cheap, and he was like, you want to spend how much on a bear costume? And I was like, you have no idea how happy this is going to make me. And sure enough, I wear it every chance I get. I mean, I put it on and just ride around my neighborhood just to make the kids, get a little laugh out of it.
That's awesome, though. That's awesome. Because you can kind of do whatever you want. Nobody will. I guess some people know it's you, but
yeah, I actually took my youngest daughter to the local parade recently, and when I told her that I wanted to wear my bear costume because it's a Christmas parade, and I figured it would be very fitting, and she was like, "Mommy, please don't. That'll be embarrassing." And like for a moment, I was like, you know what? You're right. Like that's so embarrassing. People are gonna be looking at me and judging me, and this and that, whatever. And I was like, but this is what I'm trying to get over, is worrying about what people think, and also teach my children that other people's opinion of them isn't what matters. Doing, what makes them happy is what really matters. And so I was like, okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna put it on. I mean, there's hundreds of people lining the streets, and here I am about to walk up with a bear costume on, and it was only a matter of like a minute, and children started running up to me and hugging me, and people were smiling and waving and giving me like thumbs up and stuff. So I was like, no, this was the greatest thing ever, because if I was just wearing normal clothes, I would just be a regular person. I would not have stood out. Nobody would have, waved at me. I would have been invisible. And what's crazy is even though I was in the costume, I still struggled to like do some of the stuff that I wanted to do. And I had to push myself. Like I was dancing and acting pretty crazy.
yeah, I saw you hanging out with the Grinch.
Yeah. Oh, we had to chase them down because I saw them from the distance, and I was like, let's go over there. I want to go see the Grinch, and I want to go see the cookie. And my daughter was like, no. And I was like, come on. And so finally, because I couldn't, with the bear costume, I can't use my phone to record anything. So my 8-year-old had to record everything for me. I was like, I need you to record me meeting the Grinch. Like, let's go. But by the end of it, she was happy. I mean, she was like, Mommy, everybody's so happy. And I was like, see, this is what happens when you do what you want to do and not worry about other people. So it gets me out of my comfort zone. It's what is that? Exposure therapy. I started my healing journey right around when I turned 40, really intensely pursuing better mental health and boosting my self-esteem and stuff like that. And exposure therapy is a really big one just putting yourself in, in places that normally you would avoid. And eventually it gets easier.
So you were 31 Romeo.
Yeah.
Was that kind of like, I'm trying to think of what it is now. I know it's radio. I know it's got something to do with radio. But you wasn't called, were you calling in airstrikes and stuff like that? Or were you doing?
No. So basically we would set up the radios and other people would be using them. So like we would maintain the radios so that everybody had communication. Like there would be people on the front lines that needed communication. Our radio vans would be, farther back on the line. And we just had to do radio checks to make sure that they had open communication.
Okay. So you were maintenance, the maintenance.
Yeah,
side.
we set up the antennas. We actually they used to have the radio side and then the cable dogs. I don't know what their MOS was. And I think they've merged them together, which was smart because the cable dogs would literally work for like 15 minutes and then the rest of the day they would just be chilling because they didn't have anything to.
That's what I should have done.
I was thinking that. I was like, dang it, why didn't my recruiter tell me to be a cable dog? Like they literally roll out the cable and then leave and like just go chill. I was like, I picked the wrong one.
Must have been nice. So how long did you do a full 20?
No, I did about, let's say 3 years, a little over 3 years. And then I spent almost a year medically discharging because I was having a lot of medical issues early on. I mean, started right after AIT, or I guess during AIT, and then it just snowballed. So after Korea, which was my first duty station, was pretty much me like fighting for, they slowly took away like, my, started giving me like, what do you call it? Where you have like a medical excuse not to do things. Like,
like your little temporary profiles.
Yeah, profiles. So like I was getting all these different profiles and finally when it got to the point where I couldn't run, I couldn't lift anything. I just had so much pain in my entire body that they finally were like, hey, like, you can't really do anything, so we're going to kick you out. I was like, I mean...
So did you join at like 18,
I
mid-20s?
was 19. I was pretty much fresh out of high school. I was in and out of high school, out doing like the alternative school for a while. Right. And then when I figured out that I wanted to go into the military, I got my GED, and the Marines had like a 6-month waiting period if you had your GED, and I was wanting to go Marines just because I've always felt like they're one of the most badass out of all of them, and I always felt like I had something to prove. But I wasn't willing to wait the 6 months, and so I asked them how long it would take to get into the Army, and they said probably within 30 days. So I was like, all right, let's go.
Cool deal. So you got out around your mid-20s, and then you didn't start trying to go on the healing path, I guess you'd say, until 40?
Yeah, I just kind of literally stumbled through life. I got out in 2004, and so 2004, I was 21, 22. And yeah, like literally for almost 20 years, I was just bouncing around from job to job. I ended up having my first daughter. And just... I knew I was lost, like I did my best. I was, raised my kid, and I tried a lot of different jobs. Nothing ever really stuck for me. And I didn't realize until it got to basically a breaking point before I hit 40 that like I wasn't mentally like in a good place. I don't know. I guess like you think you're like, well, this is just normal. I figured it was just normal, like stress, because I was, struggling to find a career and, struggling to transition out of the military. And I was like, this is normal, whatever. But yeah, before I hit 40, I hit a big time. I mean, there was several times where I would say I hit rock bottom. But right before I hit 40 was when it was just kind of like an end of the road type of rock bottom. And I had been in the VA system for over a decade, I believe, and been fighting through their mental health system, fighting with them, telling them that like I'm pretty sure that the things that I was going through were a lot of symptoms from PTSD. And they refused to even hear it. They were like, "No, we believe you're bipolar and we want you to go on these bipolar meds." And so on and off for years, I was taking, antidepressants and bipolar medication, things that actually made me worse. And so I think for like the year before I had my breakdown, I just went off of all medication because it just wasn't doing me any good. So I went through that. And luckily, since the VA wasn't really any help for me, luckily I found 22-0. And 22-0 does a free session for PTSD. And it was super easy. Do it over the phone. Took me like an hour. And you never have to talk about anything you've been through. That was something that I've heard a lot of people complain about, is with a lot of therapies, like EMDR, stuff like that. It's a lot of processing the things that you've gone through. And with this session, you don't talk about anything you've been through, which kind of made me disbelieve that it was actually going to do anything. But the proof was there. Immediately afterwards, I felt different, and then it's only gotten better. I believe, let's see, it was May of 2022 was when I did the session. And it took me about 2 or 3 months after that to start to feel like really good. Like the first 2 or 3 months after that was kind of slow. Like I felt myself kind of lose momentum. I kind of pulled away from a lot. And I guess that was kind of my brain healing, taking like finally like relaxing.
And processing everything that you've been learning as well, on how to combat what you've been dealing with and how to come back from that. It's tough. You're talking about EMDR. I haven't done it, but the VA is, she left, so she's not my psychiatrist anymore. But my psychiatrist at the VA was pushing me to do EMDR. I just never did.
Well, whenever I've had a lot of people tell me, they're like, "Oh, I'm planning on doing EMDR." And I'm like, "Hey, please, I am begging you to go do this session with 22-0, because for one, it's so easy, it's fast, and it's 100% effective. Like everybody feels some sort of relief from it. So it can't hurt to do it, like to lower your symptoms, to reduce your like your anxiety and all that. Going into any other therapy is only going to help, And for me, I did one session, and I've been off of all medication ever since. I have not felt any symptoms of like PTSD or depression or any of that since the session. It relieved all of my nightmares. I had nightmares my entire life, from the time I was little up until the day before I went through this session. I had nightmares almost every single night that I could remember, unless I was drinking or, using THC, which would help me to not have, either not remember the dreams or not have them. But I was able to quit drinking. I haven't drank in March. It'll be 3 years since I quit drinking. And I'll say like once or twice in the last 3 months have I used THC for pain meds. Um it is completely, I mean, I tell people it saved my life, but it changed the projection of my life in every single way. I mean, I went from being like really depressed and anxious and having like constant racing thoughts and not being able to concentrate, not being able to like do like normal everyday things, screaming at my husband and my kids constantly, to being the positive glue in our family. Like when all hell is breaking loose, I'm the one that's like calm and like trying to be like a positive, impact on everybody. And I mean, like the motivation to do things, like I said, probably about 3 months after I did the session, it was like the switch flipped, and I was like, okay, now what am I gonna do with my life? Like, I feel like my life was kind of, I was living at like 10%. And all of a sudden my brain was like, all right, I'm ready to go like 100%. Let's go. And yeah, so I completely changed everything I was doing. I jumped into motorsports because I'd always loved cars and loved motorsports. Never really felt I never felt confident enough, I guess, to jump into that world. And so I jumped into that, and then I thought, well, what can I do to promote these veteran organizations that have done so much for me? So like I said, I use the motorsports to promote those organizations and to do outreach with other veterans, because I know that motorsports is really good for my mental health. Every time I go to the track, I feel happier. I feel more motivated. I mean, like all those good chemicals are just rushing through my brain.
What's that, adrenaline rush too?
Well, and and that's another thing too, is like you don't realize, it wasn't until like so many years after I left the military that I didn't realize, for one, the impact that everything that we went through, even just the smallest thing, like the way they spoke to us, the times that we had to go to formation. When I was in Korea, we would have like random alarms go, like, big alarms go off like in the middle of the night. And I didn't realize until like so long after, like how much all that stuff had affected me, and how much after I left the military that the adrenaline that I was getting in the military was something that I needed. So I didn't have it for a long time. And when I went back to the track for the first time, I was like, oh, this is what I've been missing. I needed the adrenaline. So yeah, and every veteran that I've taken out to the track has gone from being kind of reserved, a lot of them, and just kind of like, yeah, I'm happy to be here, and I'm looking forward to what we're doing. And then after the track experience, it's like their energy level has doubled. They're all smiling, like every single one of them. They're just like, this is the greatest day ever. And I'm like, I'm so glad that I can help.
Yeah, I noticed that on some of your
Yes.
TikToks, and it brings them to life.
And it makes me feel so good. Like, I used to run from reality through drugs and alcohol. And now it's like, I can't get enough of reality. Like, I don't want to be under the influence of anything because I like it here. And I love, especially like the human interaction experiences they give me such a high. And it's a better high for sure.
Right. So that's kind of, I'm trying to figure out how to say this. So is that kind of what got you into the taking the vets out, and what you've got coming up here pretty soon? I'm not sure what the date is, but I know you're kind of posting about taking a vet down to Denver.
Yeah. if I can get the funding, that's one thing I'm not that great at, is asking people for money. And it is expensive to do it. For me to go by myself, I think it's about $1,200. And then to bring another veteran out there, if they're just coming out for the experience to ride with me, is anywhere from $500 to $800, depending on where they're flying from. But it would be at least another $1,200 to bring somebody out and let them drive as well, because the rental fee is between $150 and $200 for 30 minutes. And I went in February of 2024, and it was the greatest experience ever. And after doing it, I realized that 2 hours was perfect. I feel like I would have been exhausted if I would have done more than 2 hours, and I would have been disappointed if I would have done less than 2 hours. So that's basically what I'm trying to do. If somebody wants to drive, then I would like to give them the 2 hours, because it takes about an hour to get used to doing it if you've never done it before. They have a smaller track set up, which is just a circle that you can go out and you can basically learn, to get the feel of it. And once you get comfortable on that smaller track, then you get to go to the big track that has all the turns. And there's actually people out there that are really good that do tandems, where they do multiple cars, like really close to each other. And to me, that's the most exciting, is actually being in the car, like in the passenger seat, and seeing another car like inches away from you. That's one of my favorite parts. I'm like, just let me sit in the passenger seat while the other car's about to hit us. Like
I said, it's that adrenaline rush.
It is so much fun. And regardless what some people may think, it's probably one of the safer ways to get that kind of adrenaline rush. I mean, most of these cars are loaded down with safety equipment, roll cage, and we're wearing really good helmets and have harnesses that keep you completely strapped into the seat. So you could probably just go rolling across the ground and be fine, for the most part. So
the only thing I've ever really seen anything happen in drifting, you hit another car, you hit a wall. I mean,
honestly, I think the worst is if a car catches on fire. Trying to get out of some of those harnesses is interesting. So I like to be in the ones that have the quick release on them. Some of them have this weird latching system, and I'm like, I will actually avoid getting into cars just because of the harness, because I'm like, as many times as I've done it, I'm like, wait, okay, the first one goes here, the second one goes here, and then you push it through here, and then you pull it this way, and I'm just like, no. You got the clicky type. I'm down for that. Let's go. So
no, give me the quick and fast one, man.
Give me the easy one that I don't have to think.
Right, but that's awesome.
It's fun. It's so fun.
It's awesome that you found something that kind of brings you back to life.
Yes. And I'm not gonna lie. This past year for me has been extremely stressful. We've had some really bad stuff in our family, and it's something like that in the past would have broke me. It would have, put me into freeze mode, where you just you're not really functioning anymore. And having these events to look forward to, regardless of what's going on, just makes it to where the thought of giving up and just throwing in the towel, it doesn't even come through my head, because I'm like, hey, in 2 more weeks I get to go sideways. So
right. Yeah, I've noticed for me, when I started this podcast on a dare, and
what an awesome dare.
Yeah, it was literally I started it on a dare. And I pretty much just told my story, and about how my wife is the whole reason I started going to the VA and all that. And I wasn't sure I was going to do it anymore. And then I got an email from somebody that was like, hey, that episode really touched me, and I think I'm going to go and start getting the help that I need. And since then, this is what I want.
Yeah.
I I want to get veteran stories out, no matter what their story is, whether they've got combat stories or, just well, maybe not just basic training, but everybody has stories and everybody has experiences, and I get excitement to getting that out, letting people hear that, because a lot of times all you hear is like I love Jocko, I love his podcast, but all you hear are the guys like Jocko Willenick, and all the SEALs and all that stuff. You don't hear the everyday guys like us, and I want everybody's story to get out, because everybody has experiences that people can learn from.
Absolutely.
And then at the same time, vets don't talk. So if somehow I can get a vet to talk, maybe their family members will come across it and they'll be able to tell and hear what's been going on and then stuff like that. That's because my wife's grandfather, he's Vietnam vet, Agent Orange, all that, and he never really talked to anybody. So nobody really knows a lot about what he went through. And I don't want anybody else's family to go through that.
Yeah.
Because it's hard on them just as much as it is at us. It's in some ways harder, I would say. So that's, yeah, I absolutely love, this is my thing. Yours is motorsports, and this is mine.
Well, and speaking is a big part of it. I've been doing podcasts ever since I went through my session. Actually, I think I did one before my session, and then I started doing them regularly to try to share the information. And for the last 2 years, as you can see behind me, I have built a complete podcast studio. Like, I mean, there is 2 chairs, a couch, coffee table, the nice Nashville skyline back here, and we have all the equipment. And maybe I need somebody to dare me to start it, because I'm telling you, like, I started out saying that I was going to do a couple podcasts so that I could get, some practice talking, speaking, telling my story and whatnot. And then every time I think about, okay, I'm going to start my own podcast, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do it. I'm going to record my first episode, this, that, whatever. And I'm like, what if nobody listens to it? And then I'm going to feel like a complete idiot, and
been there, man. Just do it. Just do it.
I'm going to pour my heart out, and there's going to be 2 people that actually paid attention, and I'm going to be like, why did I waste my time?
But you're not wait. But see, I had the same feelings, and my crowd is not large. I got a small following, I guess you'd say. It's not large at all, but I enjoy doing this. And this is for me, and it's for the other vets out there that I get to talk to, and just how it's kind of therapeutic in a way.
Oh, absolutely.
For me. And that's what I like about it. And, one day, will this get big? I don't know. Of course I'd like for it to, but I don't really care.
I was going to say, I don't think it doesn't really matter. Like, a lot of people that I've talked to, they're like, oh, when you go on podcasts, do you vet them to see how many followers they have and, this and that, whatever? And I'm like, no, I've done 6 podcasts in a week before. Because I want to have a bunch of practice, because the more you do something, the better it is, the easier it gets. I want to get I have a very important message to share with people. And the more places I share it, the more people are going to hear it, regardless of their following. It only takes one person to tell 100 people. So it could be a podcast that only has 10 followers, but if one of those followers goes out and starts telling people about this, then I've done, it's done what it needed to do. I think my biggest hurdle is, for one, I always get stuck on naming things. Like, you can't actually post it if it doesn't have a name. You know what I mean? Like, you have to make a name for it. And so I've gone around 100 times with names, and also I don't have a specific thing that I want to talk about. I just like talking to people. I like talking about mental health. I like talking about people's stories. I love a come up story. Like, I love to hear somebody that went to prison and used to beat people, all the time, and then have become a person that's doing outreach in the community, or, someone like me who has, been down on their luck a million times and came back up, 1,000,001, and done all sorts of crazy things. Because like when I tell people, like if I give somebody my complete life story from start to finish as quickly as possible, the reaction is always the same. They're like, there's no way. They're like, there's no way. You did all of that? And I'm like, I know, right? Like, it's crazy. Yeah. And I think for one, it's inspiring to hear stories like that. I actually spent probably a good 4 or 5 years stuck either on the couch or pretty much on bed rest because I have an autoimmune disorder. That's that's the reason why I got out of the military in the first place. It took them 12 years to find out what was causing all the pain that I was in. And they finally found out that it was an autoimmune disorder. My immune system's basically attacking my joints, and that's why I was having all the pain in my joints. And it got to the point where it was unmedicated, and I was pretty much paralyzed. I couldn't walk. I could barely get up. There was a point where my husband would actually like pick me up, put me on the couch, and like have to put the remote control in my hand so that I could sit there like this all day and watch TV. There's a million stories I could tell just from the hurdles that I faced with my body being like completely broken. And then coming through that, talking to people on the internet and being kind of like a peer counselor was literally what saved my life. Because if you think about sitting in bed for 4 years, like people talk about they're absolutely miserable when they have a cold for like 7 days and they're miserable and oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. And it's like, yeah, I did that for 4 years. And the mental strain that takes, it's literally torture, both physically and mentally. And honestly, it kind of baffles me looking back on it that I was able to move forward every day. But it was stories that people told. I remember watching videos on like Facebook and YouTube of these stories of people overcoming like a really bad tragedy, like a brain injury or losing limbs. Just cancer, whatever it was, and coming through that to live this amazing life. So I would literally every day I'd be like, that's going to be me one of these days. That's going to be me one of these days. I'm going to come through this. And then I'm going to be the one inspiring people, if they're laid up in the bed and they are literally wanting to unalive themselves. I used to literally pray every single day that I would just like pass away for no reason, just take me, just no reason, just poof, like done.
Yeah.
And every day I would be disappointed because I was still alive. So to be able to come through that, it feels like a disservice not to share the story and not to try to inspire people that are in that position.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what my first episode was pretty much about. Me and my wife had an argument one night, and the next day she come to me and she was like, pretty much, long story short, she was terrified that one day her parents were going to watch the news and find out that I'd killed her and the kid and then committed suicide. And that was the last straw for me. And that's when I went to the VA, and that's when I started doing all the shit that they want me to do. It's not easy by any means.
No.
That, but it's definitely worth it.
Absolutely. I tell people all the time, it feels impossible, and it's one of the hardest things that you will ever do, but one of the most rewarding as well. Because, I mean, looking back at where I was 2 years ago, like, I would wake up in the morning and I would, first of all, I'd be upset that I woke up. And I would barely be able to stand on my own 2 feet. Because of the medication that I was on, I had put on a lot of weight. And so I would constantly feel absolutely disgusting. And I would mentally, like internally, just, putting myself down constantly. No self-esteem whatsoever. And just pissed off all the time. And like I said, I mean, if my kids made like the smallest mistake, I would absolutely blow up like I was a bomb. And now I wake up in the morning and I'm like, heck yeah, like what am I gonna do today? Like how can
Well, I wouldn't say I'm that excited, but
I'm like, well, I mean, I have my days, but compared to where I was, it just feels like there's that momentum of how am I gonna make all of the dreams that I have come true? Because I have my dream. Most people, if I start talking about the dreams that I have and the goals that I have, people are like, yeah, that's insane. Like, that's not even remotely possible. And I'm like, my response is always this. They told Walt Disney that too.
yep.
His dreams back then were absolutely insane. Nobody believed it would ever be possible. And so I'm like, it only takes one thing to see that it wasn't impossible for me to believe that it's not nothing. I mean, they're talking about going to Mars or whatever now? Like, I mean,
Bryce.
at this point, I just don't think that there's really any boundaries to what can be accomplished. So
No, it's not, and the whole, when you're a kid, they're told you can do whatever you want to do and all that stuff. And like, it's true. All it takes is drive and dedication. Nobody said it was
no.
easy.
Well, I tell you what, networking is the best thing ever. Because you may not have the money, you may not have the education, you may not have the means to do it, but if you can connect with the right people that have those things,
Nope.
you can make anything happen. And that's what I've been doing over the last 2 years. I mean, I started out just some girl that had just a plain car with 200 horsepower, nothing special. I mean, street tires, and didn't know a single person in the motorsports community, to now I'm going, March will be my third season, and I now am connected. Okay,
I'm still here,
I
by
was
the way.
gonna say, okay. But I'm now I'm now connected with, like, I believe close to 100 different drivers. I'm connected with so many organizations, both for civilians and veterans. And I've got sponsorships. I've been on like 20 or 30 different podcasts. I keep meaning to count them, but I'm awful at keeping up with stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I've been on the news. I've been in magazines. I mean, I've been in music videos. Hundreds of different photo shoots. Yeah, I did body paint for 10 years. So here in Nashville, I probably painted at least 300 models. I got offered to be on Skin Wars at one point. Actually, several seasons they asked me to come on, and there was just always something where it didn't work out for me. Partially because I didn't have the self-confidence that I needed to do it. I was worried about being on TV. But yeah, I mean, the things that I've done and accomplished are out of this world, and it's only going to get better. This next year coming up, I'm actually discussing with a videographer about doing like a documentary on the drift community, and also me as a veteran trying to raise awareness on mental health by being involved in motorsports. Yeah, I mean, I would love to start acting, start my own podcast, traveling around the world to do events, and to have the kind of funding that it would take to help veterans build their own cars and to document it, to fly veterans all over the world. I mean, I have connections in Japan. I got connections in Scotland.
Oh, wow.
So and
Wow.
Hawaii. I mean, like all over the place, and it's just gonna be funding. That's the only thing standing between me and these huge aspirations.
You know, I've got the same issue. What just happened here is I don't have a dummy battery pack for my
Oh.
camera, so my battery just died. So I had to switch batteries. We get like, so funding is one part of the problem, but another part of the problem, at least for me anyway, is marketing, which would be networking.
Yeah, that's not my
Um,
problem at all.
Obviously,
I
Yeah,
don't know.
like-
Networking has always been something that I have loved. I love talking. I love talking to people. I love talking about what I'm passionate about and the things that I would like to create. One of which is either partnering with a track or building my own track, where we can do veteran stuff all the time. Because most of the tracks around the area, it's like a couple.
So you want to be like Cletus down in Florida, huh?
Yeah, basically. And obviously it's very possible. There's a lot of different YouTubers that have
Yeah.
done it.
Yeah.
There's actually what's called the Drift Mansion in Missouri. And I would
I think is that Airbnb that's got the drift course
Yeah.
around it?
So they do events throughout the year, and you can also rent it. But it's like, I think it's like an 8-hour drive for me. There's nothing there. We use the Nashville Super Speedway a couple, throughout the year, but I believe it's like $10,000 a day to rent it. So unless they're willing to partner with me, that's not feasible if I want to have the track available,
No.
5 to 7 days a week.
So is it 10,000 just because NASCAR is back in Nashville?
No, it's just that's just how much they charge. I
'Cause
went
know
down.
when I lived there. State Patrol was really the only thing that ever used the speedway, and then now NASCAR's back. So
Yeah, they use it. They use it a lot. There's a lot of events that go on there, but sadly it sits empty for the remainder of the month. And I think it's really sad that we couldn't be doing some sort of nonprofit, using it when people aren't renting it. And we could be flexible. Like if they want to have some event, and it'd be like, okay, cool, have the event. We'll use it for the rest of the week or whatever.
Yeah.
But I would,
a lot of that I'm sure is track liability.
it's a lot. I mean, and honestly, like the biggest thing with all the track stuff, yes, it's expensive to build the track, but the insurance is insane. For a small track, it's like $1,500 a month just for the insurance. Not to mention all the people that you need to run the track, the upkeep of the track, all of that. And people advertising and doing the social media and, all the things. I know that it's a big ask. And that's why I'm spending my time trying to connect with people and connect with people that own tracks. And, until this can become a thing, I can always use some of the smaller tracks. It's a little bit of a drive. I think Driven Luck is about an hour and a half from us. That's a veteran-owned track. It's a smaller track, but the vibe of that place is so awesome. It's just like very kind of like feels like family. Like everybody's just hanging out. There's also Mid Pond, which I think is about 2 hours from here. So yes, it's feasible to do it, but do I want something that's a little closer? Absolutely. And I would love to have control over what happens. You know, I would love to be able to do veteran retreats, you know, regularly, to have driving classes, to have fun days, to have fundraisers, to do all the things. But I know this is, you know, I've done a lot of things in my life, and my husband kind of picks on me sometimes. It's like, oh, this is just your thing for now. And I'm like, no, nothing has ever driven me the way that motorsports does. So I don't see this ever fizzling out. This is something that, I mean, and it's always been a thing. Like, whenever I'm driving, I'm constantly checking out cars. And I tell people all the time, I'm like, I don't know how I don't get into accidents all the time, because I'm just like, oh, you know, I like that one, you know.
Yeah, so much of your TikTok is you just chasing down different cars.
So really, because I'm 100% disabled, and they allow me to work part-time, but my health is not predictable. So trying to get a job is kind of, it just doesn't make sense, because my boss would have to be okay with me just not showing up. And a lot of people are like, well, why don't you get a job where you work from home? Well, I can't use my hands a lot, so I can't be on the phone and I can't type. So tell me what tell me what I can do, you know? So I was like, so how can I create a job for myself? And so I thought, hey, maybe I'll take to social media and I'll just start documenting all of the car stuff. And so when I don't have anything to film, I go get coffee and I drive my car around all day long and try to find cars. And it's the best when I can actually find a car with the owner, so that I can talk to the owner. But usually it's just me finding a car and, you know, hashtag car spotting. I average, I've done anywhere from 2,200 to almost 3,000 miles a month. And I'm advertising.
Just driving around Nashville?
I'm advertising on my car the entire time. So, you know, it works really well that way. The only problem is it's all nonprofit. I haven't charged anybody to be on my car. And honestly, this next year coming up, I'm going to probably have to make some changes, because driving 3,000 miles a month is not cheap. I've put a lot of miles on my car. It's over 200,000 miles on it now. And it needs a lot of maintenance because of all the miles that I've put on it, and the funding isn't there. So it's put me into a place where it's like, okay, this model isn't working any longer.
Right.
And now I'm starting to get the following, and I'm starting to get the outreach. 30 days ago, I had hit like almost 200,000 impressions in 30 days. So,
oh, wow.
You know, it's there. And I've thought about getting a manager to help me do all this, because I do want to have the greatest impact possible. You know, and a lot of people are like, oh, you just want to be rich and famous. And I'm like, well, I mean, honestly, that would be good, because then I would have a bigger outreach to get the message across. But it's not a look at me. Like, I would wear the bear costume all the time to where nobody knew, you know, who it was. But yeah, you know, like I said, funding is huge. Luckily for me, you brought up McFarland. So in March.
Oh, you got something in the works with that?
So in March, I have partnered with Veterans Trust this year. They do motorsports events for veterans, and their big event of the year is at was it Fort Liberty, which used to be Fort Bragg, North Carolina.
Okay. Okay.
So they take over a part of the base, and they drift through the streets of the base. I guess this is what they do.
Oh, sweet.
They have helicopters, they have supercars, all this stuff. It's a massive like 3 or 4 day event. It's like, was it All American Week is what they call it. So I will be attending that this year. And they said, and I'm hoping that this goes through. They said that he will be in attendance, and the people that are like me, who are ambassadors for the organization, will be getting like a one-on-one meeting with him to discuss like growing your social media and stuff like that. So yeah, it's
maybe they'll bring out that Vettys, that black Vettys.
It's funny that you brought him up, because I was like, yeah, that's
speaking
of. So yeah, that's something, I've been pushing really hard. I hate that the whole TikTok, there's, the talk of the TikTok ban, because I finally pushed through and started increasing my following. You have to have 10,000 followers before you can monetize your account. And I was stuck in the 2000s forever. I felt like it just wasn't moving. And I found out I don't know if people don't know this, but if you follow too many people, you can get shadow banned. And I'm a really nice person, so I followed everybody just to be nice until I actually hit the limit of following 10,000 people. It told me that I couldn't follow any more people, and I was like, okay, well, I had a meeting, networking with a guy that had done a lot of social media stuff, and he was like, you follow way too many people. He's like, I guarantee you that you're shadow banned. And I was like, what? So I deleted, I think I'm down to like 3,000 people that I follow. And figure, my following just started shooting up. My Instagram is that way too. My Instagram, I've followed way too many people, and it got stuck I think it's at like 2,700 right now.
Oh, so wow. See, I'm on TikTok, and I don't really mess with it that much. And I've had a lot of stuff. I mean, I've got a newborn kid that's only 6 weeks old. So the past 2 months, I've kind of been out of the whole podcasting thing, right? And but I never was really big on TikTok, but I've tried Facebook. But fuck, Facebook just wants money for every little thing.
Oh yeah,
like it's. Yeah, I guess I'm gonna have to make a bigger presence on TikTok.
Well, and I put a lot of my focus in TikTok, because I noticed that my following and my interaction is way better. I think that Instagram and Facebook both filter who can see what you're posting if you don't pay to advertise, and so you do get a lot more, pushback on there. But almost every time I post something on TikTok, I get comments, I get people sharing it. I finally am in the process of almost getting my first 1 million view video, which, I mean, I've been on social media for 13 years, and it's always been this thing. Well, it was trying to get 1 million followers, but like to hit that 1 million views, it's like all these people are making 1 million views like it's nothing. And I'm like, what am I doing wrong? I guess I was following too many people. But I fixed that, and I got my first video. It hit really hard. I think it hit like 700,000 views like on its own. And so I actually started doing little promotions of it, paying like $5 to just kind of bump the views up. And right now I think it's right around 840,000. And so I'm like, come on. Like, I just want.
You're talking about the one where is it Charger that you were
so no, there's a video pinned, and it's called, I wish I would have called it the first episode, because I actually started a series based off that video. It's called Following Strangers Part 2. And I basically say, okay, I'm going to follow this strange guy that I just met at the park to go check out his garage. And I knew that that would get people's attention. You know, they always say you got to do something to grab people's attention. He wasn't necessarily a stranger. I had met him a year prior and done the same thing where he was like, hey, I like your car. And I was like, I like your car. He's like, if you're into cars, he's like, I have a garage full of like really cool cars, you know, if you want to come check them out. And I'm like, yes, this is the kind of content that I need. And, you know, I went through the safety protocol. I mean, he's 75 years old, so I wasn't really that worried. But I pinned my location with my husband and I was like, hey, here's the place I'm going. But I mean, I'm 42 and I have met so many strangers, and you can feel people's energy. I feel like I'm in tune a lot with people's energy. And if somebody puts off like Care Bear vibes, it's kind of hard to believe that they're going to kill you. And he gives off major like grandpa Care Bear vibes. And the first time I met him, it didn't really go anywhere. I went and, you know, took some videos of his cars and stuff like that. And honestly, I don't even think I posted them because I make so much content that you know, a lot of times I don't even post it. So a year later, I'm at the park and I noticed one of his cars and ran into him, and he had mentioned my car. And I was like, yeah, I race and I do car content. And he was like, oh, you want to go? He's like, oh, you want to go back to my garage? And I was like, you don't recognize me, do you? Because you did this to me a year ago. And so, but this time I posted the video and it blew up because he's so sweet. He's got a Southern accent. He has so much knowledge about Mopar cars. He's had over 100 extremely rare Mopar cars, like not just any car. He deals with extremely rare stuff. And he either finds something that's in good condition and just sits on it for a while and then turns around and sells it. Or like the one he's working on now, the floor was pretty much gone. So like he's gone through from the ground up and has started rebuilding this car to be where it's going to be all original, numbers matching. It's a 1 out of 176 car. So there was only 176 of them ever made. And he has become my adopted dad. He calls me his daughter now. He texts me and he's like, are you coming by the garage? He's like, I'll put the heater on for you. And I'm like, yeah. And I told him from the get-go, I was like, are you cool with me, you know, shoving my camera in your face all the time? He's like, I don't care. You know, people have done it. He had one of his cars on, in a Taylor Swift video. And so he used to go to car shows all the time where people were constantly taking pictures. So it doesn't bother him. But so, yeah, that was the one that really took off. And so I think I've done 8 episodes where it's just basically me sitting in the garage with him and filming him and his buddy fix this car up. And in the last video, I asked him if he had like a time that he wanted to finish this car by. And he said that he was thinking about finishing it in April. That was kind of the time, you know, that he thought that he would get done with it. And I told him, I was like, well, my birthday's on April 5th. And he was like, all right, we're going to have it ready by your birthday then. And I was like, oh, so we're planning on taking it for a spin on my birthday.
Oh, nice. Nothing wrong with that.
But that's the kind of thing that, you know, people give me crap all the time. They're like, you shouldn't talk to strangers. You should limit the people that you tell your dreams to. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Have you seen the things that I've gotten into because of the people, you know, like because I talk to everybody? Like I just walk up and talk to everybody and tell people my dreams. And that's why all of this has started happening. And manifestation is real. Your thoughts become actions, and your energy attracts energy. There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, I use it all the time. You know, in my head, I'm already rich. I have my big garage house. I own I run a massive nonprofit that helps millions of veterans. I've completely changed the mental health whatever you call it.
Land.
Yeah, the way that mental health is approached. I've been researching for over a decade now, and honestly, it blows my mind that it's not different. Because there's so many things that they can be utilizing that they don't. For the most part, in the civilian world, if you're using your, regular insurance or you're paying out of pocket, it's a guessing game. They ask you what's going on with you, and they're like, okay, we're going to start you on these meds. And if this one doesn't work, we'll try a different one. And it's like, what about all of these different therapies that don't include medication? Don't you think it would be a good idea to try those first? Because I know me personally, I truly believe that I have a lot of damage that's been done to my brain from all of the medications that they've put me on, that were not meant for me. So I would love to eventually inspire the mental health care system to be completely different in the way they assess people, in the way they treat people. And because I think that, like, this session that they do with 22-0, I honestly believe that, people go to get like a physical get a physical every year to kind of check to see how things are going. I honestly believe, like, doing this session, especially from the time you're young, because especially with children that have experienced, like myself, like toxic relationships with their parents, have witnessed, very traumatic things, been abused, all of these things that never get decompressed. And you go into adulthood and you've been carrying that, and it's been building and turning into something to where if a child had experienced something and then that was decompressed, then instead of waiting until you're in your, teens or your 20s or your 30s and you're having a mental breakdown, and then they're just going to throw you on some medication to try to numb it. It blows my mind, all the therapies that we have that we're still playing a guessing game with medication and putting people through that. So.
Oh yeah, it's like me. I've got like 5, and that's a low number. We're at like 5. 5 different medications in the morning.
Yeah,
and that's low.
I think I maxed out at like 12. I think at one time my doctor, and I didn't take all of them. I think I was taking 6. But my doctor wanted me to be on 12 different medications instead of using THC. I was using THC for anxiety, for pain, for sleep, for all these things. And she's like, you need to stop that, and you need to be on pain pills. You need to be on sleeping pills. You need to be on anxiety meds. You need to be on this and that and, whatever. And I mean, looking into it, our doctors are trained to assess and medicate. They are not trained to assess the root cause. They honestly, to me, they don't care about the root cause. They want to do whatever they can to subside the symptoms.
Right.
And
that's how it seems.
And most all of these medications have really bad side effects. And like the fact that they advertise them on TV, like, hey, you should try this medication. It's just going to cause you to have heartburn and headaches and vomiting and stomachache and
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately for me, so my day job, I'm a truck driver. I work for Pepsi now, and So I can't go to the
Yeah.
route. I just can't. And one day I'll be out of that damn truck.
Well, let me tell you, if you haven't done the session with 22-0, I would love for you, and I tell everybody this, to reach out to them. I can actually send you the director's information, to reach out to them and do a session with them. Should be pretty painless, pretty quick. And to let me know, I would love to do a follow-up with you, because I have spoken to probably close to 30 people now that I've told them, hey, go do this. And they actually followed through and they did it. And immediately, probably within a week or two, they are reaching out to me going, oh my gosh, this has been amazing. It's been life-changing. I've gotten off of my medication and I feel better. And oh my goodness, if that's the only thing I do for the rest of my life is to introduce people to this session, the VA is fighting it. Like I feel like they know that like a lot of people are going to get off medication, and that's a big no-no, because big pharma and all that crap, whatever.
Right.
But they've been trying to get it into the VA system for years now. And man, if every veteran that was showing signs of PTSD and was coming in for anxiety and PTSD and all of these things, and was immediately given this session before they start trying to, medicate them, the difference that it would make. Because like I said, I spent over a decade being put on all kinds of mental health medication, when after the session, the PTSD was the root cause of all of my issues. My mood swings, my nightmares, my, the way I felt about myself, the racing thoughts, all of it. It was
Give you crawlies.
all gone. Like I a lot of people, you talk about how, hypervigilance, constantly being worried about what's about to happen, constantly scanning a room anytime I went somewhere. I couldn't have a meal with my family and pay attention to what they were talking about. I was just constantly thinking about everything around me all the time. And I had to sit in the corner, with my back to the wall. I didn't want to have anybody behind me. I'm still not a fan of having people behind me. I like to be able to see what's going on, but I'm able to sit and just enjoy my meal with my family. And I want everybody to experience that, because I know what it's like to be stuck in that dark place, where you're basically faking the fact that you're okay, because you don't want to bring people down around you.
Right. Right.
And after experiencing it, I tell people, the best way I can describe it is walking out of hell into heaven before dying. Like, the difference that it made, and something that was, for one, it was free. I didn't have to jump through 8,000 hoops to get it.
Right.
And it was I reached out to 22-0 and immediately they got back to me. The response is amazing, and the effectiveness of it is just insane.
Yeah, I've browsed there since the first time I talked to you, like, 2 months ago or something like that. I've browsed the website and all that stuff, and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do it one day. And I just haven't done
here you
it.
go.
Like you and your
Here you go.
podcast.
I dare you to do it. I'll record my first episode if you go do the session.
I bet.
Cause I'm telling you, it's the best. Like I said, the best thing is you don't have to talk about anything. It's literally like doing yoga for your brain, if I could explain it. Mostly just like a breathing exercise and a visualization thing that they walk you through. It's not anything like you would think. I went up into a hot air balloon in my head.
No, fuck.
Like, but you don't have to. You can pick you can pick whatever you want. But for me, I've always wanted to go in a hot air balloon. So part of my session, I I visualized going into a hot air balloon until like floating until I was pretty much in outer space, kind of, like nothing around me.
And you are a thrill seeker, aren't you?
Yeah, I literally I would go skydiving out of a hot air balloon. I want to go skydiving. That's on my bucket list. But I also would love to go wing walking, where you are strapped to the top of an airplane.
No
I've,
way. No.
I've been that way since I was little. My dad actually allowed me to do most of the things that I wanted to. Like, I'll never forget the one thing I think back and I'm like, this is insane. I think I was like 5 and my dad let me climb up on our roof, like the roof of our house, and jump off. And he caught me. For one, I don't know how in the world he caught a 5-year-old jumping off of a roof. But a 5-year-old just jumping off of a roof and not scared. Like, I used to climb to the top of the tree until it was starting to bow over. I've just always loved pushing the limits of fear. I want to go.
I'm okay with pushing the limits, but I'm keeping my feet on the ground.
I want to go swim with sharks. I've had a lot of people tell me that that's just ridiculous. And I'm like, do you know there's only like 14 shark attacks a year? Like, they're not aggressive at all.
More people die from car accidents.
Dude, I think more people die getting out of the bathtub than getting bit by sharks.
Right? Or a hammer.
Yeah, accidentally hitting their finger. But yeah.
Oh, man. No, I actually read a statistic one time that it had something to do with the people dying from hammers. And more people die from fucking hammers than they did something else. And I'm like, okay, first off, how does that even happen? And
like the
I'm gonna have to see if I'm gonna have to look that up and see if I can find it again.
The hammers like
years
falling
ago.
Or they accidentally throw it and it hits them. Like, what is going on?
I'm like, how the hell does that even happen? Like, oh man.
So now I gotta think about what I'm gonna record on this first episode. I've thought about doing, 22 has always been a number, with the veteran community, which kind of recently I found was kind of sounds like a fudged number by the VA, because there was a study done that showed the number was actually closer to 44.
I actually just did a podcast with Warrant Officer Michael Carmichael, and he is the founder and the head guy of the organization called Check a Vet, and his entire mission is to help prevent veteran suicide. That's his entire mission.
Yeah.
And he had a long spiel in our interview about how the numbers that the VA gives is not the correct number.
Well, there was a sign at the Nashville VA, and it said the average wait time for a veteran at the emergency room is 45 minutes. And I was like, that's not true. There's no way that's true. And sure enough, it's not. It was 4 hours. I looked it up.
Holy. I'm glad, man. I love Montana even more now. Like, I hear all these horror stories about the VA, and I'm like, man, my VA is great.
It's honestly, it has been a roller coaster, because I'm telling you, there's some days that everything goes, decently smooth. If you catch the emergency room, Murfreesboro is way better than Nashville. I go to Murfreesboro for everything that I can, if I can, because it's faster. I have been in and out of their emergency room, like seen and everything within an hour.
Oh, wow.
But at Nashville, like for an appointment that I had scheduled, I have sat in their waiting room for 4 to 6 hours past my appointment. And that's absolutely ridiculous to me. Like, if you can't see me within 45 minutes to an hour, you need to reschedule, because having me sit in that waiting room for 4 to 6 hours is ridiculous. I don't like to sit still, okay? Like, I need to be doing stuff. I got better things to do. than stare at a wall and watch soap operas at the VA. So, yeah, but most of it has been negative, and I hear that a lot, and it's really sad because if anybody deserves to have quality health care, I would think it'd be the people that put their lives on the line for the country, and it's awful. Honestly, when I first started thinking about doing a podcast, I was going to call it Waiting at the VA, and I was just going to interview people at the VA while they were waiting, so
that's a cool
so
idea.
how long have you been waiting, and what are you here for? Because I've literally had some of the coolest conversations because we were all sitting in the room together. I can't remember where it was, but I remember I was sitting with like 8 to 10 veterans, and we were all in there for 3 hours probably. And we all knew each other's life story by the end of it. Like we had all just come together and just had like it was like a AA meeting for mental health and talking about it. And so that's when I was like, I should totally start a series on this because everybody has the same story. Like it's awful.
Chase, go after it. I mean, who knows what will happen?
Yeah. I'll probably get taken out by some officials at the VA letting their secrets out.
Some wannabe MP at the VA.
Ma'am, you can't be in here telling our secrets.
You can't video inside the VA. Okay, I'll cut the camera off. How's audio work?
Yeah. Like that's, and I do worry about that because I'm pretty sure. I think I've seen actually signs that says no videoing on the premises and whatever, but
it wouldn't surprise me.
But I think that's more of a hospital thing. I know most medical facilities don't want you taking any sort of video, probably for insurance reasons. But I would think just sitting in the waiting room having a conversation with somebody, you'd be fine. But I could just wear like a hidden. I need to get one of those little button cameras or something where it.
Yeah, you go. This is a 007 shit.
Like a hidden camera.
Oh man, see a body cam from the Nashville PD.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, direction. As far as like starting a podcast, but I've got the space for it. I've actually. It's in my basement. That's one of the reasons why I put the skyline up in the window was so that you're not looking out into my neighbor, like out into my yard where you can see my neighbor's house. And I thought it would be really cool, which it actually worked. I was talking with one of the guys on the last podcast and like, where are you at? Like, are you in some like bougie place downtown? And I was like, it's like I'm in my basement. But I've actually got a podcast studio, I've got a music studio, and I've got an art studio all in my basement. So.
Right, you already got it all.
I know.
Like, you're set up way better than I am. Like, there's a reason my screen is the way it is.
But that's the funny thing. I see I'm in all these podcast groups, and a lot of people, they'll be like, hey, post your podcast area, and it's literally like a little desk and a microphone in the corner of their living room or something, and I'm like, I got a whole studio and I'm not doing it. What's wrong with me?
So like originally when we got this house, I was supposed to have my own office and I was supposed to be doing all of my stuff in my own office, and then my brother-in-law and sister-in-law moved in, so who gave up their office? This guy. So now I'm down. We've got like 2 living room areas, right? And so I'm in the second one that doesn't get used. But it is not only my office, it is also my wife's craft room. So yeah, this is not my decor.
So here's what you do. You get you a photography backdrop holder. They've got like a stand. You got a stand and just put it right behind you. Like so that all you see is that whatever. It could just be gray or whatever, and put you a little plant next to you or something.
Well, that's kind of like what I did. What I did my little virtual thing. I hate the way it looks, but hey, it's better than what it
Yeah.
could be.
But hey, the
Oh,
fact
man,
is you're doing it. I even like I
exactly.
even came up with this idea, and I might do it still, but I've got, and let me show you. So I've got this fishbowl with a bunch of rubber ducks, and I was gonna
Uh-huh.
put a number. Oh, I already did. I put numbers on all of them, right? So I was gonna list all of like either questions or like subjects and put them on a board with a number and have me and my guests
Mhm.
take turns pulling a duck. And you have to answer the
Okay.
question or speak on that subject for an like say 2 minutes or however long we
I
decide
can.
to
You're
do.
gonna do way better than me. This.
If I ever
You
do
can do way
it,
better than me.
if I ever do it, I may just start it. Like
Like,
I thought about listing, that I was saying the number 22 for the longest was kind of like a driving thing or whatever because of the
Mhm.
mental health thing. And so I thought the way I could start this off is to put 22 ducks, 22 parts of my story, and then just like pick them up one by one and show people, just so that it gives more of a, like a fun thing. I just feel so weird just being like, just sit the camera down and be like, all right, today I'm going to tell you, whatever. It just feels so awkward. So I'm like, how can I make this more interesting? How can I make it fun? How can I do something that hasn't been done before? Because that's the big thing. They're like, if you do something that's different, you're more likely to catch on. You're more likely to grab people's attention. So I'm like, I got a bowl of ducks.
and that is exactly why I am not top 10, because how many veteran podcasts are there? Let's be honest. There's a ton, and it's at the end of the day, I don't really care.
No.
I don't.
Hey, it
But
got me
I
talking to you, and that's awesome. Like I love connecting with all these different people, especially in the veteran community.
and that's what it's
And
about. I mean,
like I
really.
said, I don't like I definitely am huge on doing stuff in the veteran community, but I also don't want to limit myself just because I do a lot in like the drift community and like the automotive community. So like it's like, okay, so what do I do? I thought about doing like Tia Talks, but there's already like 10 podcasts under that name, which I thought was insane. So yeah, I thought about doing 22 ducks.
Do you know how surprised I was that It's a Veteran's Life was not taken?
Yeah, that's
Like, oh, shock.
dude. Hey, you need to just you need to blow up because that's a really good name.
Like, I was shocked that was not already taken. I'm like, hell yeah, it's mine.
Well, that's how I felt about the whole crazy car chick thing. Although I did have to spell it differently because there was one account on Instagram that was under crazy car chick, and a lot of people asked me, they're like, why would you do crazy car chick? Like I actually had a woman that I was gonna partner with to try to do all this. She was kind of like gonna fund me, and she had a lot of connections. And she told me that name was absolutely ridiculous and I shouldn't use it. And she really wasn't gonna support me using that name because she just didn't think it was very professional. And now everybody in the car community, local car community, and some people across the world are like, "Hey, crazy car chick!" Like I go to the track and I hear people yelling it from across the way, and I'm just like, obviously it wasn't that bad of an idea.
Right. But it all depends on the community you're involved in too.
Yeah.
If you're trying to do white collar stuff, then yeah, maybe not. But you're not. You're on the track. You're on the tarmac.
Yeah, and honestly, I think and my husband has told me this many times. He was like, the name means nothing. Think about the name Aerosmith. Sounds kind of weird, right? It's about the people that are behind the name and how and the things that they do with it. He's like, it's less important what you name something and more important what you do with it. And I'm like, I know, but I'm stuck with the name. Like I have to, the name to me is so important because it's going to be like, I think about merch. I think about, like, I always imagine it hitting really big and this name's going to be everywhere. I want it to be like a good name. Like it's a veteran's life. That's a great name. So it's like, like I said, I thought about 22 Ducks and I'm like, but do I really want to be known as the girl from 22 Ducks? I don't know. But I was like, I could totally ring on some merch with like rubber duckies, but.
Well, you got, Fat Electrician, like one of my favorite freaking YouTubers ever. And he does, his logo is a duck, and one of his freaking intros or outros or whatever is like quack bang with a duck coming through. You have to look him up.
What is it
when
called?
it comes to telling stories.
What is it called?
He's got several channels, but Fat Electrician is one that I always look at.
And
he
see,
tells
you
a
wouldn't
lot
think
of
that would
a lot of military history and stuff like that, and it's great. It is great, and as far as storytelling goes, this dude is a master at it, and he tells it in a very entertaining way. He doesn't do it like a documentary. Yeah. It's awesome.
That's the thing too. Like I think about it, and I'm like, I know that the story is there, but I want to tell it in a way that really captivates people. I don't want it to be just this, on and on about just talking. And I know I'm probably overthinking it a lot, but it means a lot to me. So, and my husband was like, you don't need a podcast studio. And I was like, but I do, because I want to come off as professional. I've always been that way. Like I can't just go into things like unprepared or looking like an amateur. I've always liked to like give off the like fake it till you make it. Like as soon as people see me, they're like, oh, she's big. She's a big deal. Like, yeah, I'm in my basement. And it's actually pretty cold down here because there's no heat down here yet. I'm down here like all bundled up because I'm like, oh yeah, this is great. My professional studio with no heat.
Like I know exactly what you're saying though, because I've got I reached out to some guys the other day, have them on the podcast, and they're out in New Jersey. I wanted to get into doing in-person stuff, but right now it's all virtual because that's all I've got the equipment for. Well, they're going to be in Montana in the next month. They're going to go skiing, and they're going to be like an hour from where I'm at. I'm going to do a 4-person, well, 3 plus me, in-person interview, and I have less than a month to get the fucking.
But do you know you can those Bluetooth microphones, they're really cheap, but they actually work really good.
Yeah, I've been looking a lot.
I got some to do interviews at the track, and sadly, once I get to the track, I'm just like go, and I forget about everything. I have had these microphones forever, and I think I've used them 2 or 3 times, and I always kick myself when I leave because I'm like, I could have had really good audio. I've got the microphone.
Right.
So
if I know how it feels, and like when I do this one at the end of January, I was talking to my wife about it this morning. I'm like, I got so much shit. I got to find a space to do it because I can't do it here, and all this stuff. And I'm like, I'm not ready for this, but I'm fucking doing it anyway.
But you can like I've seen people do it at like a coffee shop. Like just sitting in the corner and like literally interviewing people. So that's one thing is I think we tend to limit ourselves and think, oh, I have to be able to rent a space. I have to, whatever. And it's like, dude, you could literally go sit in the toy aisle in Walmart and interview people if you wanted to. I keep telling myself that I'm going to go downtown because, you want to talk about the opportunity to interview a lot of people. Broadway is insane. And I think it's the fact that it has gotten so ridiculous that I hate going down there, to be honest. When I first moved to Nashville, like 13 years ago, the vibe in downtown Nashville was so cool. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. Everybody was super friendly. It was not this massively overcrowded, shit show. The alleyways didn't smell like urine. I mean, it was a beautiful city. It still is from a distance, but I'm gonna tell you right now, like I said, most people when they come in from out of town, that's the first thing they want to do. Are we gonna go downtown? We're gonna go downtown, and I'm like, please, anything but downtown. It is so overdone. The prices are insane. Like, there's burgers down there that are like $30, and it's just a regular burger. And like the drinks are like $20. The parking's $40. I mean, it's ridiculous. I miss just, like a lot of people, I miss what it was when we first moved here. I would have gone down there almost every weekend. It was so chill. Like it would be lively. I mean, there'd be a lot of people, but it was never to the point now where like you go down there on a weekend and it's like cattle. I mean, you are literally being shoved through thousands of people. Not my cup of tea anymore. I mean, I don't drink. I don't bar hop. It was definitely a lot more fun when you're drunk and you just don't really know what's going on. I watch people drinking and they're having the best time in their life, and I'm like, this is awful. Like, why do you want to do this? But yeah, it was fun when I was drunk. So, but yeah, things change.
Well, yeah, you got that right. I guarantee you. Let's see, I've been gone for over 10 years now, 12 years now. It's probably way different.
Oh, absolutely. Hey, you'll have to, you can come visit and we can go downtown and you can.
Fuck. I don't think I want.
We can interview people and then we can leave. Like, we can be like, nope, fuck, we can forget this. Like, this is awful. I'll just
go do 5 minutes. Be like, man, the hell would you guys?
I'm gonna carry my jar with my ducks in it and try to interview all the drunk people. It'll be great.
All the drunk wannabe country stars.
Oh, all
you Nashville people. I'm sorry, but it's true.
All the girls from out of town that are wearing like brand new cowboy boots. No, I don't think I've ever seen anybody wearing cowboy boots in Nashville except for downtown. Like, there's cowboy hats and cowboy boots everywhere, and then you leave downtown and they don't exist. I think it's hilarious. I don't know if people think that's how you're supposed to dress when you come here, but we think it's hilarious.
Contrary to popular belief, Nashville ain't full of cowboys.
I mean, there's definitely some people like on the outskirts, but I promise you they're not going downtown to go to the honky tonks.
No, they're going to the little hole in the wall.
Oh, wearing cowboy boots. They're wearing boots.
Wearing damn New Balance.
Yeah, New Balance or like work, like steel-toed shoes. Yeah.
Right. Oh, man. Well, we're at about an hour and a half now, and my daughter is probably mad at me because I'm not upstairs to put her in bed.
I'm right there with you. I've got a 8:00 curfew when it comes to my kids. So.
Okay. It's been great chatting with you, and I hope you do it again. And matter of fact, we will, because I want to know about that first episode you do.
And I want to hear about how the session goes.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'll shit. If I'm gonna dare you to do that, I'm gonna have to.
Yep. It's recorded. I have proof.
You're right. But yeah, it's been great, and I really hope that all your aspirations come true. No matter how crazy they may sound, it still sound awesome. And I wish that at least half of it comes true.
Hey, if a quarter of it comes true, it'll be amazing. So honestly, with the things I've accomplished up to this point, I can die happy. I mean, I've helped a lot of people, and I have overcome everything that I never thought I could. And I broke the cycle of toxic upbringing. So what more could you ask?
I mean, at the end of the day, for me anyway, it's just my kids a better life than what I've had.
Absolutely. So, well, thank you so much for having me on. It's people like you that are doing what you do that help me spread the message that is so very important. And I always like to end with telling people, if they are a veteran or first responder, to please reach out to 220. If they are experiencing any signs or symptoms of PTSD, because it will be life-changing sooner rather than later.
And I will have a report about that not too long from now.
I promise you, it's so painless. It's so painless. It's nothing like what you think. It's super easy, and you will feel a million times better. And I can't wait to hear about it.
I'm going to trust you. I'm going to trust you on this. I'll take your word for it.
Hey, I'm willing to bet $100 right now that it helps you in some sort of way, and it's not going to be hard at all. So.
Oh, I'm sure. I've checked out their website, and I really like what their website promotes. And fuck that. If I was to tell you I remember everything, I'd be lying.
Well,
I don't. But I do know.
Quit putting it off.
I do know that I enjoyed looking at their website and the way they talk about the stuff that they do, as well as I checked it out last night for the first time. The one where you is going to be going to North Carolina.
Oh, Pam? Oh, wait, what? The Veterans Trust? Veterans Trust?
Yeah, Veterans Trust. Yeah, I checked out their website last night. They're doing some really cool stuff too.
Yep. They're doing all kinds of they're doing testing with college, the effects of racing using sims on the brain, which is,
Oh, I didn't see that.
Dude, it's called Race Camp. They are just in the process of launching it. It's a new program that they're starting, and it is right up the realm of everything that I'm interested in, which is the brain and racing. So they're moving in the right direction of seeing alternatives to things that can help people.
That's put me in the beta program.
I know. I was awesome. like, send me a sim. I have a basement. I can add it.
All right, I'll figure it out.
Well, yeah.
But anyways, sign off here and go put my daughter to bed.
I've enjoyed it, and I look forward to talking to you again. So
exactly. Great.
So
anyways, thanks. I hope you have a great night, and I look forward to talking to you some
other
time.
You too. Have a good night.
You
All right,
too. Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us on It's a Veteran's Life. Remember, every story shared strengthens our mission to support those who served and their families. Stay connected, stay strong, and know you're never alone. Until next time, take care and keep the mission alive.
We stand in the light or darkness. We love our land, and what we're fighting for, we will never back down for what's right. A safe nation and a happy home. All we stand up brave and tall. In the name of love and honor, we stand brave. Thanks for your support. The stars may run deep, but they tell a tale of strength, of courage and of love that goes to any length. We find ourselves in unity, in the bonds we create, in the echoes of the past we shape our fate. We stand in the light, no longer in the dark. With every story shared, we ignite a spark. For the ones who served and the families who stayed, in the name of love and honor, we won't be swayed. We'll march on together through the trials and the pain. For every story shared, we ignite a spark. For the ones who served and the families who stayed, in the name of love and honor, we won't be swayed. We stand in the light, no longer in the dark. With every story shared, we reignite a spark for the ones who served and the families who stayed. In the name of love and honor, we won't be swayed. We'll march on together through the trials and the pain. For every story shared, we ignite a spark for the ones who served and the families who stayed. In the name of love and honor, we won't be swayed. We'll march on together through the trials and the pain. We'll march with love and honor, we won't be swayed.